Welcome everybody to the White Noise podcast. And in tonight's episode, I've got our local tech guru back, Mr. Louis. Louis, how are you doing tonight?
Ahoy, Carter. Nice to be back with you. Haven't spoken to you in a while, and good evening, everyone. Keen for this chat. Should be interesting.
Yeah, we live in interesting times, and I thought episode about alternatives to the big tech censoring platforms would be the order of the day. Since big tech, in many ways, I think for a while now, have been overplaying their hands, I think it's a good time to maybe, on a principle level, for those that have those, start looking at a few alternatives. And that's why I thought maybe I'll get you on and get some insights and see what you think about what's transpired with this whole conundrum. In not so much detail, Louis, do you mind taking the dance floor and just kind of giving a short expert of recent events that led us up to the show?
Okay, so I think the main catalyst for this discussion was the WhatsApp debacle, with WhatsApp updating their privacy policy, or being forced to update their privacy policy recently, and users having to opt into the latest feature where they share data with Facebook. But as far as we know, this has actually been going on since 2016, but due to legislation only catching up now, it's only become compulsory for users to opt into this. The interesting thing is, from what I've read, is that users in the EU are exempt from this, so their data laws actually protect them against this. So it's actually against the GDPR for Facebook and WhatsApp to do this. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting one. But so I think that's also a good place to start our discussion, is around the chat apps and the alternatives to WhatsApp, because it's, the other competitors have seen a massive influx now of new users. So Telegram and Signal are really benefiting from this. So what do you think of those two alternatives?
I love the fact that our Lord and Savior, Lord Musk, commented and Signal just went like through the roof, not just in value, but in users. And we've seen an influx of hundreds and thousands. I think someone in the comment section, or we can maybe check it out, daily users like 64,000 a day. So these companies and businesses had to actually upgrade their infrastructure at such a massive rate. I think they were struggling to keep up from what I could see, and it was quite something. Same with Gab. It was the same effect there, right? They also got such an influx that they couldn't keep up.
Absolutely. And did you see after Elon Musk's tweet, he said Signal, and there's another company on the stock exchange called Signal, so their stock price went up sky high because of his tweet, because Signal's actually not listed, as far as I know, publicly listed. So people bought the wrong stock, but that company also benefited from his tweet.
He threw a signal into the market and everyone else got another signal. So it's the battle of the signals. So
that's a proper signal.
Yeah, a signal to the free market. Yeah, and also I think what we've seen that's been happening for quite some time now is the proclivity of Silicon Valley giants to favor leftist narratives, right? You have Antifa organizing riots on Twitter, and Trump, they get the chance when Trump's presidency kind of ended, they just like pulled him off and said like that whole Capitol Hill event and such. And then all of a sudden, all the right-wing people lost 10, 20, 30% of all their followers overnight, everyone on the platform. And I think that's what propelled Parler and Gab into the spotlight. But Parler, they got nuked by Amazon. So Amazon immediately kicked them off their platform. And then all the other service providers also just pulled out. It's as if it was orchestrated, by a few, I would say, Silicon Valley technocrats. It's almost as if it was perfectly orchestrated and perfectly well timed. Luckily, the alternative to Parler, Gab, they have their shit in order, right? So they've already been planning for such an event, and they've been having their own servers for a while now. But up until very recently, they were also not able to keep up with all the influx of new users on a daily basis. So they've also just been like ordering servers and whacking away and upgrading their server infrastructure. But they do host their own. They're not reliant on any third-party provider. So and their upkeep is done by actual donations and monthly subscriptions to a pro account to support them. So power to them. They did the smart thing, right?
For sure. Gab was taking a strain. I remember the day you said on Twitter, join me on Gab, and I tried to sign up and actually couldn't even register on the site. It was just taking a hammering. So they've definitely seen a massive uptake in users. And interestingly, to add to your point, Carter, is that I think people are also sick of censorship, because after Trump was kicked off these social media platforms, they actually took a hammering on the stock market as well. So it's not good for business to censor people and to go against freedom of speech and freedom of expression. So yeah.
The principle is always the problem, right? So who gave Silicon Valley the right to censor? And the problem is this: I don't mind if you are a active terrorist group, BLM, active. I was going to say ISIS, which they did remove eventually. Also after a lot of public outcry, because they were just kind of allowed. And then the weird thing about Twitter is like there's so much porn and kiddie porn on there as well, and this is well known. And it doesn't seem. It seems now things are moving against them, because I know there was a recent case. So it's such a weird platform, and what they deem as not wholesome, Orange Man bad versus kiddie porn, and I'm like, guys, I think you don't have your priorities straight, to be quite honest. So that for me is problematic, right? And then also, like we say, there's a proclivity for more lefty kind of. There's a bigger tolerance for that. I mean, if I did name you, because you were formerly a woman, I'm only joking. If I did name you,
I was Louise.
I was Louise. You're now Louise. If I did name you, which I call you Louise, I get banned for life. I'm like, Jesus. With the Caitlyn Jenner's debacle, I'm screwed completely, right? So that's the problem here. So I think the question now is realizing that this has been happening for a while. From a principled standpoint, how long are we willing to stay on these platforms and take this kind of, judge, jury, and executioner role that Silicon Valley has bestowed upon themselves, and they clearly are making the rules, right? So am I going to actively partake on these platforms and be part of the problem, or am I taking myself, which is technically the product, and I think you can explain that in a bit as well, away from them onto platforms that actually respect my privacy and doesn't share my data with 50,000 people? I think the other day you gave me a fun example. You talked about something for a half a day, and later the day when you opened your browser, you got ads for that product or service, like later that very day.
It actually happened again. We tested it again. We had a conversation about a cell phone network, actually Rain, the LTE provider or 5G provider, and actually got an ad in an app for the services. So yeah, Google is still listening.
Yeah. So it's quite something when you know, and it's not just Google, right? Most devices these days have some form of, even your smart TVs with the cameras embedded in, mobile phones, webcams, all of them have active devices, right? And it's not that clear to me that you can just intuitively turn it off. If you have a sneaky app, you can get a big surprise anytime, because it can listen in to your conversations with impunity, as we've seen, right? So it's maybe time to look at platforms, and then how we can move away from a world where we are constantly monitored, and then that information is used against you, or just it's marketed. Everything you do is being either recorded or it's taken to a database and it gets responded to in real time. And yeah, I don't know how keen people are for that. I, for one, am not. Right? I actually appreciate, transparency at the very least.
Mm.
And I think if you would take the time to go read through all the service level agreements and terms of service, or as I like to call it in short, TOS, you'll see all of these things embedded. I don't think they're trying to hide it, because it is a bit TOS. It's Afrikaans for audience members that don't know.
So I actually went and read the WhatsApp terms and conditions, or actually their privacy policy. So it's interesting to see what they collect on us, or what they collect, and they openly state this in the terms and conditions, is that so your messages are encrypted. We don't know. Obviously, they have the encryption key, so they don't read it, but there has to be ways to get to that information. But the data that's shared with Facebook is your profile name, your profile picture, your IP address, your battery level of your phone, signal strength, app version, your browser that you use on your device, your mobile network, your cell phone network, and then connection information relating to your ISP and your mobile operator, your language and time zone, and your device information, unique identifiers about your device. And then also they can then relate that data and see related devices that you also own, that you browse or have WhatsApp or Facebook on. So yeah, it just paints this overall picture of the user through multiple data sources.
Yeah, it can see when you are busy. Interesting enough, there was also this guy, and he talked about if TOS is terms of service for the audience. Apologies, I just made the joke, but I didn't elaborate on it. But yeah. So what it does as well is if I message at odd hours and I say I'm married on Facebook, right? But at strange times I'll message someone that's single also on Facebook. It starts gathering interesting data, right? Because then obviously you can see that this is kind of either an affair or something strange here is going on. There's many data points, as we mentioned, that it can pull from Facebook Messenger, from things you like or dislike. The algorithms try to create an avatar of you or things that you like, and then it kind of creates a model around that, and then it presents stuff to you that's been proven that you might like, given the fact that you like certain things, right? That's how the algorithms work. So that's what it's doing all the time. So for me, look, I'm not doing anything CIA or illegal. I don't have a meth lab or anything interesting in my life. But on principle, I don't like that a company is collecting data about me and using it as marketing material or anything else for other third-party businesses.
Yeah, I think it's about self-determination. You want to decide which parts of your privacy you want to give away and to which companies, and there must be transparency about what they take from you, and know who they're sharing it with and how, and that
right.
We should be custodians of our own data, not another company, and we should be able to decide what we give. But and you did mention this, if a service is free and they don't charge for it, then you or usually the product, so they sell your data to make money, because they have to generate revenue somehow. So either there's ads or there's donations from users, but I mean WhatsApp does sell user data to make ends meet. But if we look at companies like Telegram and Signal, which are now giving WhatsApp a bit of a go, WhatsApp is built on the same, or was built on the same platform as Signal. So the co-founder of WhatsApp left to start the Signal Foundation. So it has a good basis, but that is no longer open source, the WhatsApp backend. So obviously they've made modifications to it, so we can't audit that and see how private it is. So in that sense, Signal is a much better and more private platform to chat on. Telegram is also good, but the chats, and not many people know this, the chats aren't encrypted by default. So your normal chat is just open, but if you initiate a secret chat with someone, then that is actually encrypted. But Telegram is a good stepping stone away from WhatsApp. It's not bad. It's still a bit centralized because they have encryption keys, so they can actually access the data, but it's stored in different regions or jurisdictions. So if the government were to get a court order to read your messages, they'd have to subpoena different countries to actually get those keys and then access the server. So it is a bit harder than say WhatsApp. Right.
So I think, just to summarize tonight's episode, then I think the main apps or use cases that we're going to cover, and you've done some research on the first one, is messaging, collaboration, secure browsing, secure search engine, and then secure mail, and lastly and leastly, secure crypto, and then social media. Louis, you told me this week you did some research. So our main three ones that we know very well, the first one being WhatsApp with their terrible new terms of service. Then we've got Signal, which seems to be the big daddy of the secure world. And then there's Telegram as well. Also well-known Russian product, highly secure. Can you maybe just give us a short summary of the three different products and what you've read and what you've learned from your research?
Yeah, so I think I'll just give you a pro and con of each one. So I think WhatsApp's still the winner because it's got the biggest user adoption. So if someone contacts you, they're probably gonna message you on WhatsApp. So if you're in a business or if you communicate with people outside of your circle, then it's definitely going to be mostly on WhatsApp, and it's going to be hard to move away from that. So I don't think there'll be a clear winner in this, an outright winner. I think we might need to have multiple chat apps for different purposes, but for chats with your friends and family, I definitely say use Telegram or Signal because it's a bit more secure, and at least you know where that data's going and what they're doing with it. So sort of a middle ground is in Telegram because it's a bit more private, and they're not selling your data as far as we know, but they plan to launch ads on the group chats at some point in time to start generating revenue. It is a Russian app, but the guys, as far as I've read up, they're not on good terms with Putin, so they've actually moved their headquarters to Dubai. So they are quite independent and not in cahoots with the Russian establishment. They do, interestingly, they and I think this is true for all the messaging apps, they actually have a sub-company or a subsidiary in London, because under the EU law, they have to store the European users' data in the EU. So that server is actually in the Netherlands, and they disclose that in their documents, which is quite interesting. So from a privacy point of view, that's actually also quite interesting because, you just have to then, if you were a criminal and a court wanted your chat records, and assuming they can actually unencrypt them, then they just need to access that one server. So it does raise questions about privacy and data security. Whereas Signal is very secure. The company doesn't even know the encryption key, so it's one-way encryption, and if they were to be subpoenaed to hand over information, and there was actually a case in 2016 where all they could hand over was the date the user joined Signal and when last they used the app. That's it. They physically couldn't provide any other data. So that is the epitome of privacy, and that's the advantage. But the drawback is criminals can use it, and child molesters. There's always the bad element, but as with anything good.
The child molesters and child porn guys can just go to Twitter, right? Because they kind of don't stop that right about now.
Or Twitter.
For
sure.
I'm being a bit of a bastard for saying
you
that.
You can't stop it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
What do? Do you censor people, or you can't stop it? People will always find a way to get around the limitations of something. They'll just go somewhere else. You can't really change that behavior by censoring it or trying to weed it out. So, yeah, that's sort of. There's nothing really anything bad about Signal. There's just good stuff. Telegram's sort of in the middle, and then WhatsApp's obviously the least secure of the three. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Well, you're right. I think the biggest obstacle here is user adoption. So I just basically, I was a stupid. I stopped using WhatsApp, but I didn't delete my account. So I realized people are still messaging me, and I'm like, okay, cool. Let me install it quickly, and I open it up today, and it's like flipping, I think 20 conversations, and I'm like, geez, now I'm just going to individually send like a copy paste message. But what I hate about WhatsApp as well is you can only send a thing to 5 people for some stupid reason. So now I have to like 555 everyone that's been messaging me in the last month. Send them like, okay, I put it on my status, but I know everyone doesn't see the status, right? So for all my important homies out there, get me on Telegram, get me via SMS, or here's my email address. Cheers, bye, boom. And that change starts with you, right? Because if you're going to stay on WhatsApp or I'm going to stay on there, then there's no incentive for people to move on, right? But I mean, if I'll probably end up, because I tried Signal and Telegram, I haven't had such a big update on the Signal side. Telegram, I can see every second day or there are 3 or 4 new people on it, which is great. And the people that I want on there, I immediately message them, because it does tell you like, hey, they're on it. Creates a conversation already, right? In your IM menu. So the people that I really want to talk to, I want there, I like immediately send them something and say, hey, welcome to the dark side, and start chatting to them. So hopefully they'll stay there. So it's immediately like when you have the people on there that you want there, start chatting with them and using the platform. And then on your own, if you feel like you want to cut out WhatsApp, I've actually enjoyed it. It's been more chilled, but then I realized I didn't lose anything. I didn't miss anything very important. The people that really need to get to me called me, but yeah, it's just lots of memes and stuff that I missed. I'm probably better off because I lose hours a day on memes. So.
Yes. No, you're probably better off. And like you say, WhatsApp stays open in the background because they actually track your location. If you share it, your location with a contact, it tracks that, and it gets your proximate, it stores your location based on your cell phone network and positioning. So actually you wanted to check, there's a way to see what data they store on you, and I've started it, but it takes 3 days to generate the report. So if you go on WhatsApp, on the menu, because I've still got it, you go to settings, account, this is on Android, and then settings, account, and then request account info. So there's a little menu there. I hope you can see it.
Nice.
So I've requested it. It says about 3 days for the report to come through, and then they give you a breakdown of everything, all the information and settings that they've got about you. So I mean, you can do that on Facebook as well. So it's quite handy. At least you can get it. It's just a mission. So
yeah, I'll do the same with the data dump on Facebook as well. Get all my photos and the nice stuff. And I don't know what the format is like, right? Maybe we'll do a second video on that, where we export our data and just look at what it looks like and what information you get from it. And maybe I can sell my own data for some profit, right? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you can. Yeah, we should do a chat, a follow-up about that, and then analyze our own data and then take it from there.
I don't want people to know that I'm actually a Chinese spy, but okay, I'll do it.
No, well, that's on your other phone, your burner phone, for your spy.
Yes. Yeah, and it's under a pseudonym, so it's fine.
So while we're having this conversation about apps, I think we should just mention something offbeat. So Bridgify is a really interesting one. Bridgify. It's a messaging app that works without the internet. So this came across my radar when those Hong Kong protests were happening a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, 2019, 3 years ago. So if the government shuts down the internet completely, an app like this can still function because it doesn't rely on a cell phone or a data network. It actually relays messages from phone to phone using a Bluetooth handshake or a Bluetooth mesh network. So you guys should check it out. It's really nice. I've tried it, but
just for our listeners, a mesh network basically means if there's two Bluetooth devices that are in range, they create a network. So let's say we add a third or a fourth or a fifth person into a small little tent or beer garden, and they're kind of 15 or what's the latest USB protocol range? It's no longer 15 meters. It's now more 30.
I
20,
think it's
30 meters.
I think it's still it was 10, so it's around 10 depending on, yeah, let's just say 10. That's like the average standard, yeah.
So let's say there's 5 people and they're about less than 10 meters away from each other. And that each person will have a 10-meter radius around them, depending on the Bluetooth range. So then that will create like a hell of a circle if they are relatively close to each other. So it's basically peer-to-peer offline messaging. So if you've got thousands or hundreds of people across the city, in theory, if they are close to each other and the chain doesn't get broken, you should be able to send a message from the one side to the other side. But then pretty much everyone needs to have it installed and running.
True. And I think when we reviewed the COVID-19 alert SA app, that also had Bluetooth and shaking between devices, but the difference is it doesn't transmit the data from device to device. It just does a connection between devices to then exchange a token. So it's not really a Bluetooth mesh network where this actually relays the information from between devices. Yeah, that's a big difference. So this is actually a communication app for using Bluetooth.
Right. So moving on to the next one, I think we've covered messaging in quite a bit of detail, and thanks for that. I wouldn't say there's any particular, platform here that's dominating at this stage of the fight. I do find that who owns Slack? I know Teams is owned by Microsoft, and then you also have Zoom as well. Zoom being kind of relatively out of the politics. If you want to get very deep into this, technically Bill Gates, he doesn't own Microsoft anymore. He's kind of retired and everything. But if you want to think that way, then Teams also might not be an option, because with the whole COVID thing, from him being a nerd to a medical professional overnight. I mean, great on him, but so I think we can just lightly cover Slack and Teams. We've seen both of these grow, and Zoom as well, as kind of Zoom not being quite a collaboration software, because it's kind of limited to video meetings, where I'd say Slack and Teams actually gives you a bit of tooling. It gives you the ability to share files and collaborate together on files, and also some productivity tools. So they haven't done anything incredulous or strange in this time. So I just thought, for the sake of the conversation, to have a few more broader categories. Do you know of any other third-party software that's doing quite well in this space from a collaboration perspective? Or is Teams and Slack going to take that trophy for the evening?
No, I think we'll have to stick with them. Microsoft bought over Skype, so Teams is pretty much based on Skype, and Skype on steroids, if you could say that. And then I see Slack, and Slack is owned by the Slack Foundation, Slack Technologies, which is a private company. So they're not open source software at all. It's proprietary stuff, but from what we've seen, it's decent software. We should actually look for some open source, alternatives. But I think in terms of adoption, you can't go wrong with these because big corporate
That
companies
that's
use them and rely on them. So
Yes, yes. Yeah, and the best two that I can think of that has quite a high mainstream adoption are these two. And then if you really want to keep your nose clean, both of them have free versions. And I think even I'd go as far as to say Slack might have a kind of a better free version if than Teams. I haven't tried the free Teams in a while, so I know they keep adding features to both. But I think what we should do is in a future episode actually go on quintessential productivity software now that everyone's working from home. I've got a few ideas that I want to brush by you that we can do.
awesome.
So that should be fun. And then I think
sure.
an important one that I've been doing for a while now is secure browsing, right? When you use platforms like Google, Chrome, or now Microsoft has their own Chromium browser called the new Microsoft Edge. The old Edge was based on Microsoft's own proprietary software. Now they also came to the dark side. They're also adopting the Chromium model, and they rolled out the new Edge, which is a nice browser, but they have built-in trackers. Even when you install Windows, they can we advertise relevant stuff to you? It's like, no, I don't want ads. Okay, well, then you're just going to throw you with random ads. Like, God damn it, that's not what I want. Luckily, what Chrome did and Brave did, it's also based on Chromium. So most of your, if not all, you can correct me in this if I'm wrong, Chrome apps should in theory work on it. It's 3 times, it's self-claimed that it's 3 times faster, or better privacy by default, and uses 35% less battery. I think we can attribute that to less tracking and all of that, that kind of things. So
sure.
Brave keeps your information secret, and it doesn't sell it to third-party vendors, and it doesn't attach hundreds of little trackers to track everything you do, where you click, where you're going. And I think, that's one of the claims. Blocking harmful trackers means a lot of faster internet. So Louis, if you want to go on a bit about Brave, then we'll go to Tor.
Yeah. So to be honest, I actually just installed it, or actually I've got it open here on my laptop at the moment, but I've actually installed it on my phone just to see the battery performance, battery life, performance enhancement, and my battery lasts so much longer. So just in terms of from usability perspective, it's really nice and convenient. It's definitely lighter on the system, and I've also noticed that stuff loads faster because there's not so much tracking and other requests in the background going on. And it actually shows you on the home screen on mobile when you open it. It shows how many requests it's blocked. So here's the mobile version on Android. It just says since I've had it, it's blocked. Other way. It's blocked so many requests. So that's quite
lekker. That's nice, eh?
And the other feature which I liked is that basic attention token. So it's got a bit of a crypto thing baked in on it. So you can actually, there's ads that pop up. So if you watch them, then you get paid in this crypto token, BAT, or the basic attention token, and you can actually pay advertisers in that token in the browser. So it's got a little crypto wallet built in. It's quite a neat way of monetizing stuff without compromising privacy.
Right, you get incentivized for looking at ads and not bombarded by them the whole time. And you choose to look at them, right? It's just a little tab that pops up. It's very unintrusive, and you can choose to look at it or not, which is quite nice. Then the second component of Brave is the Tor. So it goes a bit further. It hides your history from users using your browser. Brave lets you use Tor right on a tab. Tor not only hides your history, it masks your location from sites you visit by routing your browsing through several servers before it reaches your destination. These connections are encrypted to increase anonymity. So it goes that extra. It's like, it's Brave's, let's call it Brave's private mode on steroids. So it just makes your search history and your browsing history and everything that more encrypted and much more difficult for these trackers to get hold of. So super encryption, basically, if you're going to put it like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know about the Tor integration. I see. I might have the older version of the desktop one. Need to upgrade. But
I think it's like a plugin. I think it's like a plugin, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I might be mistaken. I'll double check that and rectify.
No, you're right. I see. It says it's in the. It's been released recently, and they also say that the Brave became the first browser to offer a native integration of a peer-to-peer networking protocol called the IPFS, which is the Interplanetary File System, which is a decentralized file sharing network.
Wow.
So there's some. It's also integrated with some crypto coins to store data in a decentralized fashion. So I mean, I haven't seen that in action yet, but it's pretty cutting edge stuff. Yeah, and I see it's just been released now in January. So this browser's really got some neat features.
No, it is quite nice. I've used it for a while now on multiple devices, and I haven't looked back yet. And I think from that point, you want to add anything to secure any other secured browsers worth mentioning, maybe that you can think of, you've heard before, or up and coming ones.
There are some smaller little ones. I think for market share and what they built on, I think this is pretty much this. And Tor, you can use Tor as a standalone browser as well. The Tor browser, which stands for the Onion router. That's probably the height of privacy. I'd like to see how that compares to just using that versus Brave, but it's always a bit slower because of the routing that happens in the Tor browser. So it's a bit of a trade-off for performance, privacy versus performance. But if you are paranoid, then that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, so I think then from that point, let's move on to search engine. So currently we've got Google, we've got Bing. I think, is there any others worth mentioning? I mean, Yahoo has been, they're probably like less than 3% now of all searches, if not less. I think your dominant one is Google. Bing is probably close second now. I think they'll climb because of the integration within your Chromium Edge. I think that's probably a boon for them. That's probably a good help for them. Any other search engines that you know of, Louis, that's kind of mainstream right now?
Yeah, just a note on Bing. I was surprised to see how many hits just one of my sites got from Bing. And I believe it's the default browser on some Windows systems. So a lot of people just use it because it's already set up as your default search engine. So I got quite a chunk of hits from there. So people just sometimes optimize their websites just for Google, but Microsoft, who owns Bing, still has quite a big market share in the search, slice of the pie. But in terms of other recommendations, and I know you like this one as well, it's definitely DuckDuckGo. And I see it's also integrated with the Brave browser. So if you go to the incognito mode on the browser, that is your default search engine, which is quite nice. So I've used it quite a lot on mobile, and it's really, really nice. What do you think of it?
I like it. I've been using it for some time. I did realize in the beginning it was a bit groggy with the search results sometimes. If I go into something that's very South African, I think you coughed it, but it's like, what are you talking about, man? But any other searches is quite accurate, and I had to defer to Google only once or twice, but otherwise it's quite on point. So to give people an idea, I like how they describe themselves. It's actually quite nice. Like they say, so they start off with saying, we're setting the new standard of trust online, empowering people to take control of their information. You deserve privacy. Companies are making money off your private information online without your consent. At DuckDuckGo, we don't think the internet should feel so creepy, and getting privacy you deserve online should be as simple as closing the blinds. So they have they quick stats about them. They've got 2.5 billion private searches every month and growing. They were founded in 2008. They have I wouldn't say this is a tight ship. This is substantial. They've got 124 employees, and donated to them, there's 2.65 million that's been donated to them. So yeah, that's just a few interesting facts about DuckDuckGo.
Very interesting. I wonder how they make money. That would be interesting, but obviously they don't track users and sell data, so they obviously have some.
I was actually on the FAQ, and I would love to answer that question. How does DuckDuckGo make money? We make our money from private ads on our search engine. On other search engines, ads are based on profiles compiled about you using your personal information like search, browsing, and purchase history. Since we don't collect that information, search ads on DuckDuckGo are based on the search results page you are viewing, not you as a person. For example, if you search for cars, we'll show you cars. Easy.
Okay. Nice.
No, so there's your answer. Short and succinct.
Awesome. That's really good. I love it.
And then moving along from there, I think our next topic, Secure Mail. And obviously I'll add the links to all of these lovely companies after the show. So you can just go to the show notes and it'll take you directly to the website. This is a big one, Mail. Yeah. Currently, what does everyone do with an Android phone, Louis? Tell me about that.
Well, I saw someone recently set up a tablet, an Android tablet, and the phone's the same. I mean, you can't use it unless you log in with your Gmail account. So that thing sets its claws into your entire operating system. Is that the right answer?
That is exactly it. So you've got a Google account. You need the Google Store to download apps, and you're completely in a Google ecosystem. Your browser by default is Chrome. You get Google Mail, you get Google this, you get Google Maps. So Google is the super information collecting machine right off the bat, right? So you log in and you just do your things on it. But every touch point on that phone is basically owned by Google, either directly or indirectly, right? So Google knows what apps you like. It knows how often they're using them. It can maybe do a metadata scan of your emails and know kind of the basic words you use a lot and then kind of build a profile about you. Then, the list goes on. Where you travel, how often you travel. There's so many data touch points for Google, right? So I will have an episode about this. I've got good news. There are ways where you can actually remove the Google apps. You have to flash your phone in some cases. In other cases, you can just go directly to the web APIs and use non-Google apps, right? And I think Proton Mail is in the right direction of this fight. So Proton Mail, while Google is a complete service offering, so I have to distinguish the two, right? Google is productivity because you get sheets, you get their flavor of Word, and of the productivity tools, you get Mail, you get calendar tools. So you get this whole, toolkit, and you can basically do a lot of stuff with native Google software. Not as easy. Now it's going to be a bit more difficult. But Proton Mail is just email, but it's secure. So right off the bat, it's encrypted, completely encrypted email, highly secure. And I'll read this from their website. So their claim to fame is basically, we're building an internet that protects privacy, starting with email. We are scientists, engineers, developers drawn together by a shared vision of protecting civil liberties online. Man, I can smell the freedom from here. This is why we created Proton Mail, an easy-to-use secure mail service with built-in end-to-end encryption, that important word, and state-of-the-art security features. Our goal is to build an internet that respects privacy, is secure against cyber attacks. We are committed to developing and widely distributing the tools necessary to protect your data online. Our team combines deep mathematical technical knowledge with blah, blah, blah. Basically, they hot shit in the engineering space and research space. And they give you very secure mail. Louis, what do you know of Proton Mail?
Yeah, I believe they're based in Switzerland, which is quite interesting. I mean, that's quite a neutral territory, so that's
beautiful.
Sort of that's beautiful from a legal perspective, point of view, and in terms of jurisdiction, and it's got a very good reputation as a very secure email. I actually know a guy who's super paranoid about security, and the two things he's recommended to me, he uses Proton Mail and Signal for communication. So yeah, if
Trust.
he uses it, then it's pretty secure. So that did it for me. But I have to admire, because I see you say you're going cold turkey. You're going to cut out big tech from your life. Google, Facebook, Twitter.
I'll be making videos
everything.
how I'm doing it. Yes.
That's awesome.
I'm going cold.
So for me, I have to start somewhere. So I'm starting with WhatsApp and that.
Low-hanging fruit, Louis. Start with the low-hanging fruit.
The Google one's going to be hard for me because I use the Google Docs and Sheets quite a lot and the sharing of it and stuff. So yeah, they make it so convenient. They make it so convenient to use. So to get out of that ecosystem is hard because you have to find something that's convenient and easy to use, and that other people use as well, that you can collaborate on. So yeah, I'm already hooked.
So let's be honest, right? There's some cases where there's low hanging fruit and it's relatively easy, and there's some cases where it's not. What I'm suggesting is not to cut off your own nose to spite your face. What I'm suggesting is, if you are sharing and collaborating on a certain account, keep that account only for that. Don't let that account have access to the rest of your phone or your ecosystem, right? Kind of use it in isolation. If you have a second device, only install it on the second device, not on all your devices. Use it only on your work or productivity devices and keep it off your private ones. So there are ways to kind of do this. So like I say, don't go out and like be super anti everything and then you're back into the dark ages in your cave, cooking meat over fire, hunting and gathering. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is go for the low-hanging fruit, do things in a practical way, in a pragmatic way, right? And then see what's convenient. And if things are a bit more challenging, right, reach out to me, reach out to your techie friends and have the discussion if you want to completely end it. So the important thing, right, end-to-end encryption, they don't have access. They're also completely encrypted one way, so they don't have access to your data, so zero access to user data. So they don't have the encryption keys, same kind of vibe as you mentioned earlier. And then they also use open source cryptography. So AES, RSA, along with Open PGP. I'm not going to go on and act as if I know what that means. It just sounds legit. But it seems like from a security perspective, Proton Mail is as good as you can get. And there are free and professional plans, right? And I take it the business plans, you can probably add your domain to it. And then the personal ones is at protonmail.com, right? So you can make any mail at protonmail.com. And I did yesterday. I'm actually running a Twitter account, a second one. It's a secret account. I'm playing around with it, and I created it from Proton Mail. And so far, so good. So I'm going to see how far I can get with that Proton Mail account. So I'll report back.
Amazing. Yeah, please do. Just something I read now. I see it is actually open source. So the software is on GitHub, and the web client and the mobile apps are all open source, but the web-based version isn't. So I mean, the underlying technology is open source, which is great. So that's quite a nice stamp of approval there. And another interesting thing is they've also got a Proton VPN service that you can buy. I suppose it's a paid service. Yeah, so that's one category we're not really discussing this time, but we should maybe cover VPNs at some point.
I think we should do a security 101. We start from the very basics, how not to get hacked. Because I think people do a lot of stupid things unbeknownst to them, right? They just do things, they just do them, and they don't know how they might be able to compromise themselves in a substantial way. So definitely do a future episode on that. Like, our work is not done in this world, it's only getting started, right? Then the next, moving straight along, I think our favorite, or one of our favorite topics, crypto. There's a lovely app called Exodus. It's quite something. The great thing about it that I like the most, so I'll give my dummy version and then Louis can come in and steal the show, is the fact that they have a mobile version and they've got a desktop version. So you can go in and start transacting in crypto right away if you have something in your wallet. So obviously you'll have to transfer crypto from some exchange like Luno. You've got a credit card, you can buy internationally and then just transfer it to your Exodus wallet. And the nice thing about it is Lee can buy something from me and I can send him a QR code so we can stand next to each other. I buy a service or a product from him. I enter the Rand value of any crypto, so I can use Bitcoin Cash. I think they support more than 100. Bitcoin Cash, Zcash. What's my other favorite one? The contract one, Louis. Why am I being such a dummy? Ethereum.
Ethereum.
And then I put in the Rand value of what I want to buy. So let's say $800. It obviously converts it properly, and I make the transaction on the spot. It transacts, or I can send my wallet number, and then I'll get a notification when I get money in my account, and vice versa. So it's made the transacting, the front end of transacting so much easier. Louis, please add to anything that I might have missed.
No, you nailed it on the head there. It supports 100 plus cryptos, like you said, so it's really nice. You can keep all your stuff in one wallet. And compared to, say, an exchange like Luno or any one of the other ones, where the exchange owns your wallet keys, so they're actually in possession of your wallet. This is a custodial wallet where you actually own the own private keys or the underlying keys to spend that money or that crypto. So that's an important distinguishing factor. So if you install a wallet app like this, then make sure it's one where you're in complete control of your coins. And what also makes this app great is that it's also got a monitoring mode. So you also get hardware devices that look like little flash drives where you can store your crypto on. So this thing's got a read mode where you can then link it to that device, and you can actually just check the balance on your hardware device, which is quite neat, almost like just a read mode. It can't spend the crypto on the device, but you can check the balance. And like you said, it's got a desktop and a mobile app version, and it's got a very good reputation in the crypto community, so we can definitely recommend it.
Hell yeah. It's quite a nice app. We are working on a vendor list of people that use crypto for services. So if you're one of those people, you take crypto for any services that you render or products, people can pay you in crypto. Let us know if you need help in getting it set up. We're actually slowly but surely building a business model around that as well. Logic at White Noise Podcast, or get hold of Louis or myself on Twitter and DM us, help you out and get you set up and running in crypto in no time. Just a little sales pitch there. Moving right along.
Sorry. I have to just plug this quickly. Sorry, Carter.
Go, please plug.
The financial regulator, the FSCA, they want to regulate crypto as a financial product. So the submissions close on the 28th. So there's actually a campaign by DSA for people in the public to lodge their opinions. So if you'd like to contribute to that, we can also send the link. So they want to regulate.
I'll add it to the show notes.
Thank you. To legitimize crypto products as actual financial products, and then anyone that sells or any companies that sell crypto or deal with crypto will have to be licensed like financial services providers. So that's quite an interesting development for South Africa, or globally, and in the crypto space for South Africa.
Quite. It is a very interesting development. And what's your thoughts on that, Louis? Is there any good that come from it? Let's say someone's not transacting, but they're into support services. What would that entail? So let's say we help vendors get started, but we don't physically transact in crypto.
If you offer a crypto-related service, I think you'd still have to be registered. If you hold the crypto on behalf of clients, then you definitely have to. If you advise them on crypto, yes, because you're then a financial advisor. It's a bit of a grey area, but they'll probably define it a bit more clearly. But this is exactly why we have to participate in this. So from a public participation perspective, so that we can help shape that legislation. I think it'll also weed out scams, because there's a lot of companies that come in this grey area where they can offer a service, crypto-based service, and then people invest in it because it's not regulated. So a lot of people, I mean, we've seen this with Mirror Trading International, MTR, that went up in
favorite
flames.
friends at Mirror.
Mirror
FBI
Trading,
is involved there. FBI is now involved. It's becoming quite interesting. So I'm looking forward to see what the outcome there is. It's quite a steaming pile at this phase of the fight. So but we won't, like, I was so surprised by the adoption rate of it, right? Like, this crowd won as well. Like, everyone is just like, oh man, you're gonna get rich so quick, and I'm like, yeah, dude, like, I've seen this 100 times. Like, I know what rich quick means. It's like someone's going to fucking steal all your life savings and laugh at you at your face, and you're going to lose everything, or a hell of a bit part of your savings, right? So yeah, I've always been very weary of any get rich quick scheme. Since its inception. Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, no, and rightfully so. Definitely.
I would hope so. Then I think finally, social media. So if we look at Facebook, we've got Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, right? Facebook basically bought Instagram and WhatsApp more recently, if I'm not mistaken. So that's kind of on the cards, and it's been an interesting development. And as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, they try to actually take your data that's within WhatsApp and take it into Facebook, and probably cross-pollinate and get more data touch points and all those fun stuff, right? So yeah, we're at Gab. So let's talk a bit about Gab. Privately funded company. They have their own servers. They basically dodged the bullet that Parler got hit with, because Parler was on Amazon. So Amazon, Twitter, and Google all converged, and they just like erased Parler from the universe. And Gab had none of those problems, because they already had their own servers and infrastructure and everything up and running, right?
Yes.
So yeah, they didn't go through the same pain. I've been using Gab for a while now. As you mentioned at the beginning of the show, it was they couldn't keep up with their growth, and now it's at a stage where they're quite relatively stable. And I really have to say I like Gab. First of all, okay, my computer's completely freaking out, so I'm just going to. Can you see me? Is there a visual?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If you can see me, it's fine. So
yeah.
A great thing about it versus Twitter is you can actually have relatively longer posts, and you can also edit your posts, which is quite welcoming. With Twitter, if you shoot something into the dark, and if you're like me and you see the typo a bit later, I'm a bit of a grammar Nazi, then I have to go back and either delete it or retweet it, and then it's retweeted 5 times, then I don't want to delete it, and then I have to go into the comment section and like star your so
yes.
that's a kind of bastard.
Do that a lot.
So yeah. So yeah, I really enjoy Gab. I think moving forward, one thing I want to say as well, so you can take this as you please. I do think it's important that even if we get shit from like Twitter, there still needs to be a bit of an opposing voice on it. So even if I'm going to Gab, I might keep my Twitter account just to, I don't know, balance things out or piss off a few very left-leaning people, the white liberals from Cape Town, referring to them, for my own edification, because I just love trolling people. I've got a bit of Trump in me. So I think genetically I'm also predisposed to massive trolling. So for that reason, I'll stay on there. But I don't see the value. I could even say white noise is a brand. I get so much more traction on Twitter. Gab is relatively new, so I'll be able to report that a bit later. But Twitter is doing exceptionally well. I've grown my brand much quicker on Twitter than on Facebook. I haven't been active on Instagram. I created the account and it's just been hovering there. So I don't think I'll do anything with it. But yeah, I'll probably get off Instagram and Facebook. I might keep Twitter because I actually enjoy Twitter for, even if it's the shithole of humanity, it's still lots of fun and some interesting people on there. So that's my 5 cents. What do you think? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, Twitter's still big on adoption, so you have to be where your audience is. So it doesn't help you move everything to Gab and you don't have an audience. But I mean, I haven't been on Gab as much as you. I've literally written 2 tweets or Gabs. What do you call it on Gab?
Yeah, it's a Gab. It's
a Gab. Yeah.
Right, but stab. It's interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting. It looks like a mix between Facebook and Twitter because you can like stuff and you can comment on it and retweet it or retweet with a quote, and you can edit stuff. So I love it. It's like a blend between the two. I did find it a bit buggy because I couldn't update it doesn't want to update my header banner. The one that's there is stuck. So obviously it's still a beta product, but it's nice. It looks all right. It's good. It
looks promising.
It's works. It's very promising for a brand new product that's just launched. So there's a lot of promise.
Right. It's not brand new, right? It's been around the block for a while. I remember I might be mistaken. You've got more access to stuff now. My computer's bombing. Every time I try to put something on my second screen, it just bombs out. Just check when it was started. I think it's probably older than 4 years now. Definitely, I think than 4 years.
You're right. The original one was launched in 15 August 2016, 4 years ago. But they and then they relaunched it in 2017. But this current version is a complete rebuild, and it's only 18 months old.
Okay, there we go.
They forked it to Mastodon, which is like an open source platform, a social network, and then they built it on top of that. That's interesting. So it's got an open source stamp of approval there as well, which is
that's nice. I love myself some open source. It's good that we're getting so much adoption to it. So you've got a whole community behind it that can also help. And it's interesting, right? So their funding model is basically you donate or you buy stuff from their store, right? Or you become a paid for member monthly. What does the pro membership cost be? Can you choose the amount you donate monthly, or is there a set fee there?
I'll just have to double check. Sorry, I had it open, yeah.
No worries.
Because I think I'm on the free version at the moment.
I think all of our cheapskates are.
Sorry, I did close that tab.
Let me close some windows and see if I can't get you back, because I can't see you right now. I'm staring into the ether.
There, it sounds like I came back.
There we go.
Pricing. I can't really find any pricing options here, but yeah. It was free to register, so they might have some paid tiers in there.
Okay. Well, I see we're a bit over an hour now, so I think we can close down. Any final wisdom from you, and then we'll close this conversation down.
Yeah, I think I wanted to say this at the beginning, and then we got into the topic, so it might be a good closing thought, is that there's 2 arguments for censorship and privacy, is that if you use a platform, then they have right of admission reserved. So if you don't play by their rules, no matter how bad it is or biased, then they have the right to kick you off. So that's the one side of the coin. The other side is that censorship has never worked because, I mean, there's always been different communication mediums. So people have gossiped and spread, false rumors and stuff by talking and SMSing. So the medium is not the problem, and those mediums were never censored because there wasn't a third party involved. So why should tech companies then censor messages? That's not healthy for society and healthy for relationships and for discussion. So we should just have total openness and transparency and be able to share ideas, whether they're bad or good or offensive or terrible or great. Just we should have open and honest discussions.
Right. Also with you, I mean, the anonymous accounts is always a bit of a slippery slope, right? Because you do want people to be as free as they want to be, but that also gets abused a lot. So it's usually the anonymous accounts that spit the most vitriol, and they're usually the worst. Usually when there's some kind of skin in the game, people seem to act more decently. But then again, I've seen people with their own personal accounts also like being complete shitheads on social media. That doesn't stop someone from being a piece of shit, right? Even if your face is all over social media, people can take screenshots and in theory get you fired, within 2 days, if your job is so inclined. So the evil is not the technology. It's how people use it. So there will always be shitty people. There will always be evil fuckers out there. And you can, to a certain extent, we as a society can decide, right, what's really harmful. If someone's actively recruiting terrorists, or they are spraying kiddie porn on a platform, or making threats or doxing people, very threatening stuff, I'm for censoring some of that stuff. But when it comes to freedom of speech or having an agenda and having a selective censorship and you're playing double standards, I think that is where the area becomes very gray. And for me, that's where I'm not very comfortable with, right? Or you have a platform where everything goes, everything. I mean, even the things that I said I disagree with. And it's just this complete open platform, right? Like Silicon Road kind of vibe. And, so you have to decide as a society, do we have a platform where everything goes, we don't censor anything? Or do we have some things that as a society, we are governed by some rules and we might want to implement some stuff? So I think that's the question that I'll leave for people to ask themselves, right? Wild West, or somewhat, do you want a sheriff in town, but the sheriff is just? Or do you want a sheriff that's a bit of a shithead and he makes the rules up as he goes along? So
that is a very good analogy. I love that.
Yeah, I just pulled it from there. I think it's also not too bad. But everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. I'll make this episode a podcast. I'll add the links of all the sources and all the products we spoke about tonight. Go check them out. Start adopting them. I'll also document this journey of mine. The potential. Up the pros and cons of going like this, and if there are workarounds, I'll also suss them out and I'll let you guys know about it.
We can call it white noise goes cold turkey.
My computer went cold turkey on me now, so don't tempt me. Okay, Lee, but listen, thank you for our local tech guru, Louis, for tuning in. There's going to be a lot of shows. We're doing collabs with him this year, so I look forward to it. And everyone, have an awesome weekend. Don't get too drunk on illegal liquor. And stay happy and safe. Cheers, everybody. Awkward silence.